Bonjour, Kaitlin Curtice and Dejnikas Potawatomi and Dow. Hello, everyone. My name is Kaitlin. I am a citizen of the Potawatomi Nation, and I'm so grateful to be here with you to hold space for honoring our liminal stories and our liminal souls in chaotic times. This is a huge theme of pretty much all of my work and all of my life, and I think that we constantly need it. So I'm going to share a poem with you and a picture to go along with that poem, and then kind of check in with you all and have you answer a question in the chat. And we will write some poetry together. There's a poetry kind of prompt practice that I want to do with you. And then I will also send us off with one more poetry prompt for those who would like to write more poetry. So I want to share this with you. This is a poem I wrote earlier in the year, and I'm going to share this picture as I read it. So you're welcome to look at this image as I read this. Can you all see the image? Okay. One day, my son handed me his iPad and told me I had 20 seconds to draw a soul. No thinking aloud, just the fingers moving across the screen embodied. So I began. Something in the middle, a curve, which spiraled out from that spot in waves, like a rippled line that winds gently around itself, but out and out and out to the waiting world. When I stopped, I found that I had tears in my eyes. Right there on the iPad screen, a soul, my soul, rippled out, gently spiraled. I've heard it said that the soul is outside the body, not the other way around. To that same effect of the ripples, the existence of our most tender, holy center becoming a powerful force in the world outside us. And when I go to sleep tonight, I'll imagine it, that spiral, something like a breath running along those wavy lines, running from the center of my being and back out again, inhales and exhales to a waiting, wonderful, weary world. So today we are thinking about this idea of liminality, and I thought of this poem. How do we kind of find our way along that spiral that is our soul, that spiral that lives inside of us and outside of us that sort of leads us in the world? How do we hold our breath and our space along the spiral of our souls? So I want to just open with this question, and just feel free to type into the chat. What are you carrying with you into our time together? And I encourage you to bring all of yourself into this space. What are you carrying with you to our time together? I am carrying this dance between the micro and the macro, my personal life and our collective in the United States. There's a lot of political chaos, a lot of social chaos, and I'm holding kind of the grief of that, and also just my own everyday life. And so there's that. I'm feeling that dance today between those spaces, again, those liminal spaces. So what are you carrying with you into our time together? Heartbreaking at the loss of a friend's 2-year-old daughter this week. Sorrow and mourning about the intentional mass starvation in Gaza. The hope and fear that seems to swirl around those of us engaged in the US today. Yes. Despair and deep spiritual yearning for peace. Yes. Carrying smoke on the wind and gratitude for shifts that bring clean air here in the far north of Ontario by the Albany River. Yeah. Deep sadness and gentle hope. The resilience of Baltic amber. fighting despair, holding on to hope. Deep sadness for the state of the US and irritation that people don't act better. Yes. Please keep sharing. I want to read something to us. This is a book I'm currently reading, The Seeker's Guide by Elizabeth Lesser. And there's something I wanted to read that speaks to this idea of liminality, this in-between space that many of us find ourselves on the spiritual journey. She says, instead of shrugging our shoulders with the skeptics and agreeing that's just the way it is, there's life and then you die, or walking with the religious purists around the whole mess, we can blaze a trail through the swampy territory. We can use our humanness as fuel for the journey. We can humanize spirituality. So she's writing about, this way that we come to our spiritual journey. And to me, that what she is saying speaks of liminal space, that our spiritual journey matters, and also that we can't get around it. It's not something we can easily kind of fix. It's not something we can ignore. And all of you are sharing that in your comments. You're sharing the liminality of what you're holding. And I honor that. We honor that sort of spiral that is our souls and how we're moving along it. And I think about the cycles in all of this journey that when I think of it often like this. There's this moving from, and I write about this in my book, Living Resistance, moving from our heart center when we're holding that space in ourselves, holding the liminal space in our own stories. There's like this loop that goes outward from the center of ourselves out into the world. And it's this constant reciprocal loop that we are experiencing. So when we honor those liminal spaces in our own stories, we become better equipped to handle the chaos of the world. We're meeting it in a different way. And as we handle the chaos of the world, we see the beauty and the complexity and the liminal spaces out in the world. And then that sort of leads us back into ourselves again. So there's this constant cycle that we're practicing that's really beautiful, that we're holding space in the chaos for our liminal stories, for the complexity. And one way that we stay grounded in this is to find silence, to find centering. Another book that I'm reading right now is called The Heart of Centering Prayer by Cynthia Bourgeault. And I wanted to read a little bit from this. She actually is quoting Kabir Helminski, who is a modern Sufi master. And he says this: we have subtle subconscious faculties we are not using. Beyond the limited analytic intellect is a vast realm of mind that includes psychic and extrasensory abilities, intuition, wisdom, a sense of unity, aesthetic, qualitative, and creative faculties, and image forming and symbolic capacities. This total mind we call the heart. So it's leading us into our heart center, into this space where we're holding space for all that we are. We're finding that swirling pattern. We're finding that the silence can prepare us for a chaotic world. And so, understanding that chaos will always be there. There will be oppression, there will be grief, there will be difficult things in the world. And we will always be complex human beings who hold liminality. And so finding the honesty in that is really important. Holding space for all of who we are is really important. So I want to do a practice with you all. This is a poem, a poetry practice. So if you have a journal nearby, I encourage you to grab it. Or you can also just hold the space in your heart and mind or type it up. This is called an Am I poem. And I have used this poem to hold all of who I am. So I will, let me share my screen with you again so that you can see it. I'm going to read this poem twice, and then I will invite all of you to make your own of this poem. And the whole point is to hold space for all of who you are, to hold space for your journey. So this is my Am I poem. Am I a writer who climbs or a climber who writes? Am I a singer who tells stories or a storyteller who sings? Am I a contemplative who activates or an activist who contemplates? Am I an introvert who explores or an explorer who goes inward? Am I a mystic who organizes or an organized mystic? Am I a mother who speaks up or a public speaker who mothers? Am I a learner who questions or a questioner who learns? Am I a truth teller who invites or am I an invitation to truth? Am I a homebody who travels or a traveler who loves home? Am I a gardener who reads or a reader who gardens? Am I fierce yet tender or tender yet fierce? Yes. So I'm going to invite you to write a poem like this, and I can leave mine up, but I want you to just think of some different things that are a part of who you are. You know, it can be a role that you have in life, it can be a part of your personality, it can be a part of your calling. And you don't have to put opposites together, but you can combine them in ways that may surprise you, that are creative, that show your complexity. And there's this quote at the bottom by my friend Mirabai Starr. She says, "When we make a pact with ourselves to show up for reality just as it is, reality rewards us by revealing its hidden holiness, its ordinary wonder, its fruitful shadows and radiant wounds." So we are honoring all of who we are, and we're holding the space for that, and that creates this beauty of liminality in our stories. So I will set like a 7-minute timer, and I want you to just do a few of these. If you only have a few, that's fine. If you end up with a lot, that's great too. I'll set a timer, and I'll bring us back in a minute, and I'll leave my poem up so that you can look at it if you need to. All right, slowly wrap that up. I'm going to stop my sharing. Let me find my notes here. So if anyone would like to share a little bit of yours in the chat, you're welcome to. We have a little bit of time if anyone would like to unmute and just share a few lines. The two sort of things I just wanted to say about this idea of finding our liminality in our stories and our spirituality is to hold that space for the quiet and the complexity within us, and to remember the cycle of all of it, or the dance, like I mentioned, this dance back and forth. We talk a lot about like how to live a balanced life, and balance is beautiful, but also sometimes perfect balance is really hard to gain in life. And so sometimes remembering that we can also just be kind of on that pendulum swing of movement constantly as well. And to sort of be okay with that too. Oh, Ursula, thank you for sharing yours. I'm going to read just a few of the lines. Am I hurt or am I learning to live? Am I flying or am I creeping? Am I stuck or am I changing lives? Do we come together across our differences to be one, or does our oneness come in the beauty of our different ways of seeing, knowing, and being? Yeah, that's beautiful, Margaret. Thank you. Am I a sinner or am I just an ordinary saint? Yeah, it's beautiful. You could come back to this kind of poetry prompt in, you know, 2 years and 5 years and see what's changed. What is changed in you? Am I a body-mind complex with a soul, or a soul with a body-mind complex? That's good. Am I an old man who has learned, or am I still learning? Or perhaps I have just become old without ever really learning. Am I someone who has loved, or am I still learning how to love? Yeah, it's good. Am I a memory keeper who lets go, or is letting go keeping memory alive? That's a really good question. Am I a dreamer who wakes to write, or a writer who dreams to escape? That's a great question, too. Am I a person who knits, or a knitter of persons? Am I a priestess who ministers, or a minister of all? Of allness, maybe? Am I a woman loving women who love women? Am I gentle and calm, or can I rage and shame too? Yeah, that's good. Do I need the dough in order that it might rise, or does the dough allow my prayers to rise in the very kneading of it? Do I breathe in order to live, or live in order to breathe? Yeah. And then remember to end your questions with the word yes. That may be the most important part of all of it, is that spiral, that movement, that we are always moving along those lines in that spiral. And that means yes to all of it. Yes to the dance. Yes to the liminal space. Yeah. Those are beautiful. Thank you. So, the one other thing I want to send you off with, one more poetry prompt, and then I'll just tell you a little bit about my new book as well, just because it speaks to what we're talking about here. So I'll just tell you about the book first, and then I'll send you with your prompt. That makes more sense. My new book is called Everything is a Story, and I'm following the life cycle of an oak tree to explore the life cycle of a story. And this is our personal stories. This is our collective stories. How are we holding space for the power of what a story can be and become? That a story is born and it is little like an acorn, and then it grows and grows, and then eventually this little acorn becomes a giant oak, and our stories become these giant beings that have sort of outlived us in ways. And then eventually those oak trees drop acorns again. Their leaves fall, and our stories also are capable of sort of being composted back to the earth, or sort of being reborn again as an acorn that grows into another tree. Um, and in this book and in this journey for me as a whole, it was really beautiful to witness how powerful stories can be, and in many different directions, that stories can harm us and stories can absolutely heal us and hold space for us to grow. And how do we honor the complexity of the stories that we tell, and how they grow among us? And so that was a really, I mean, I wrote that book in very much a little incubator of joy. It was the first of my books that I didn't want it to end. I just wanted to keep writing it. So that was in sort of the spirit of what I wanted to come and hold space with us today, is that same beautiful reality that our stories are complex, they're liminal, they lead us in different directions, and we're showing up to them. Um, so that's where we're holding that space. And I hope that through this poem that this poetry practice and what I send with you, that you're finding ways to hold the liminality of your own story, and that actually does allow you to go into the world and hold liminal space and complexity with the stories of others. Um, oh, Morgana, that's beautiful. Yeah, the oak tree and the acorn are very, very, very sacred to many of us, right? Yeah. So this is the prompt that you are welcome to take with you. We're about done. So this is the poetry prompt. The question is, how do I find quiet in the chaos? Quiet with a capital Q, I guess. I didn't mean to do that, but that's great. How do I find quiet in the chaos? You can write a poem about that. You can write a story about it. Just something to take with you to explore. When the world is chaotic, where do you go to find the quiet, to find that inner spiral to find the liminal space. Where does your soul take you? How do you show up there? I find that mine is, that core of myself is like back to my child self. When I do meditations and I'm kind of trying to return back to myself, I often find that I'm returning to this little small curled up version of myself. So I find that that's interesting, that need for me to be protected and held in the world, maybe so that I can go and protect and hold others and be part of their holding of their own souls. So that's mine, and I should probably write some poetry about that. So I probably will too. But I encourage you all to do that. So Chimigwech, thank you so much for holding this space with me. I hope that you got just a little bit of a few moments with some quiet and some deep breathing and asking beautiful questions. And yeah, I'm so honored to be here with all of you. So thank you.